The envelope sat on Olivia Foster's kitchen table like a snake coiled to strike. Inside was a cashier's check for $50,000, enough to cover her mother's heart surgery and 6 months of recovery care. All she had to do was sign the contract beside it and become someone's wife for a weekend. "This is insane," she muttered, pushing her chestnut hair from her face as she paced her tiny apartment. The ceiling leaked in 3 places, strategically captured by mismatched pots. Her photography equipment, once top of the line, was now outdated, pawned, and repurchased twice over the past year as her mother's condition worsened. The knock at her door was precisely at 7, just as promised. When she opened it, Harrison Wells stood there like a figure cut from a luxury magazine. Tall, with raven hair slightly too long for corporate standards, and piercing gray eyes that assessed everything in seconds. His tailored suit probably cost more than her rent for a year. "Miss Foster," he said, voice smooth as aged whiskey. "Have you considered my proposal?" Olivia stepped back, allowing him inside the cramped space. 2 days ago, she'd been shooting passport photos at a mall kiosk when his assistant had approached her with an unusual opportunity: $50,000 to pose as Harrison Wells's wife for 1 weekend at his family's estate. "I've considered it," she replied cautiously, "but I don't understand why someone like you needs to hire a fake wife." Harrison's expression remained carefully neutral as he glanced around her apartment, taking in the water stains on the ceiling, the medical bills scattered across the coffee table, the single bedroom where her mother now slept with an oxygen tank beside the bed. "My grandfather's will contains a marriage clause," he explained, not for the first time. "If I'm not married by my 35th birthday, control of Wells Technologies goes to my cousin. That's this weekend." "And you couldn't find anyone in your social circle willing to help?" A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Anyone in my social circle, as you put it, would demand half my fortune in exchange. You, on the other hand, need exactly $50,000 for your mother's procedure at Cleveland Clinic. We both get what we need without complications." Olivia felt exposed, vulnerable in ways that had nothing to do with her shabby apartment. "How do you know so much about my mother's condition?" "I make it my business to know everything about potential business partners." His expression softened slightly. "Your portfolio online shows remarkable talent. You deserve better than that mall kiosk." Olivia looked at the contract again. 1 weekend pretending to be Harrison Wells's devoted wife. She'd wear the designer dress his team had already selected, smile for photos, dance at the anniversary party where his family would gather. Then they'd divorce quietly in a few months, the prenuptial agreement ensuring she kept only the agreed-upon sum. Her mother's cough echoed from the bedroom, and Olivia closed her eyes. "I'll do it," she said. "For my mother." Harrison nodded, unsurprised. "My driver will collect you tomorrow at 9. The ceremony will be small, just a judge and the necessary witnesses. We'll proceed directly to the estate afterward." "Ceremony?" Olivia frowned. "I thought this was just for show." "My family would check the marriage license. Everything must appear legitimate." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside sat an emerald-cut diamond that caught the apartment's dim light like a captured star. "This was my grandmother's. Please wear it tomorrow." The next morning passed in, a blur. The courthouse ceremony felt strangely intimate despite its clinical setting. When the judge pronounced them husband and wife, Harrison's lips brushed hers in a kiss so brief she barely felt it, yet something electric passed between them. It was only in the limousine afterward, as they headed toward his family's estate, outside the city, that Harrison handed her a document with an expression she couldn't quite read. "There's something you should know," he said quietly. "The license we signed today wasn't for show." Olivia stared at the paper, her blood turning to ice as understanding dawned. "You mean, yes," Harrison confirmed, gray eyes meeting hers. "As of 45 minutes ago, you are legally my wife." The Wells family estate loomed ahead like something from a Victorian novel. All stone facades and manicured gardens spanning what must have been 50 acres. Olivia stared through the limousine window, her fingers unconsciously twisting the wedding band that now felt like a shackle. "You lied to me," she said quietly, still processing the reality of their legal union. "The agreement was for a pretend marriage." Harrison's jaw tightened. "The marriage is temporary. The divorce papers are already drawn up, dated 3 months from now. Nothing has changed except a technicality." "A technicality?" Olivia's voice rose. "Marriage isn't a technicality, Mr. Wells. It's Harrison," he corrected. "If you call me Mr. Wells in front of my family, our arrangement will immediately appear suspicious." The limousine crunched over gravel as they approached the circular driveway. Olivia glimpsed figures standing on the grand marble steps, an elderly woman leaning on a cane, a stern-looking man in his 60s, and a striking blonde whose expression could freeze lava. "Who's the welcoming committee?" Olivia asked, straightening. Her simple cream dress, the nicest thing she owned, yet woefully inadequate for this setting. "My grandmother Eleanor, board chairwoman until midnight tonight. My Uncle Philip, who's been trying to oust me for years. And," Harrison hesitated, "Penelope Whitmore, my former fiancée." "Your ex is here for our wedding reception? We're divorce? Papers and legal deception, not enough drama for one day?" For the first time, Harrison looked genuinely uncomfortable. "The situation is complicated. Penelope's father owns Whitmore Semiconductors. Our families expected a merger through marriage." Before Olivia could respond, the car door opened. Harrison stepped out, transforming instantly. Shoulders squared, expression confident as he extended his hand to help her emerge. His smile seemed to hold genuine warmth as cameras flashed from the perimeter of the property. "Smile," he murmured. "Society columns are watching." Eleanor Wells approached first, her regal bearing belying her 80 years. Her assessing gaze swept over Olivia like a scanner. "So this is the bride we've heard nothing about. Curious timing, Harrison." "Grandmother." "May I present Olivia Foster Wells?" Harrison corrected smoothly. "We wanted a private ceremony before sharing our joy with the family." "How convenient," Philip interjected, not bothering to hide his skepticism. "Just days before the inheritance clause activates." Penelope stepped forward, her Louboutins clicking. On marble. "Harrison, darling," she purred, kissing his cheek while her eyes remained on Olivia. "What a surprise. Last month you needed space to think about our future." "Plans change," Harrison replied, his arm sliding around Olivia's waist in a gesture both possessive and protective. The grand foyer of the main house could have swallowed Olivia's entire apartment building. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across marble floors as staff discreetly arranged flowers and champagne flutes for the evening's celebration. "Your room is prepared," Eleanor announced. "I assume you'll want to rest before the party." "Our room," Harrison corrected gently, his thumb tracing small circles on Olivia's hip. "Thank you, grandmother." Upstairs, the suite was larger than any apartment Olivia had ever lived in. French doors opened to a private balcony overlooking the gardens, while a sitting room transitioned to a bedroom dominated by a massive four-poster. "One bedroom," Olivia noted as the door closed behind them. "We're married," Harrison replied simply, loosening his tie. "They would expect nothing less." About that, Olivia crossed her arms. "What aren't you telling me? Your family's reaction went beyond inheritance concerns." Harrison was silent for a long moment, staring out the window. "There was an incident 5 years ago, a startup company called Luminary Tech. I acquired it, stripped its assets, and dissolved it. Standard corporate rating. Why would that matter now? Because its founder, Daniel Porter, lost everything. His wife left him, he had a breakdown, eventually took his own life." Harrison's voice was flat, emotionless. His sister works for my grandmother. She's never forgiven me. Olivia felt cold despite the room's warmth. You destroyed someone's life for profit? For survival, Harrison corrected. It was him or me at the time. Business isn't always clean, Olivia. A knock interrupted them. Penelope stood at the door, a predatory smile on her perfect lips. Harrison forgot his manners. She said to Olivia, I'm Penelope Whitmore, his fiancée until approximately... When was it, darling? Last week? We were never officially engaged, Harrison replied tightly. No? Shall I show your bride the texts you sent me 3 days ago? Her smile turned sharp. I wonder what the tabloids would pay to learn that Harrison Wells married a nobody photographer from the mall just to secure his inheritance. Olivia's heart pounded as realization dawned. Their marriage wasn't just about inheritance, it was Harrison's escape plan from multiple traps. And now she was caught in the middle. Careful, Penelope, Harrison warned. Threats don't become you. Neither does desperation, Penelope replied. Enjoy the honeymoon phase. It won't last. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Olivia? That pendant you're wearing? Harrison gave me the same one last Christmas. He does like his trinkets recyclable. As the door closed, Olivia touched the simple silver necklace at her throat, a gift Harrison had presented in the car for authenticity. In that moment, she realized just how deep the gilded cage went and how little she truly knew about the man she had legally married. Part 3. Dangerous Propositions. The Wells family anniversary celebration swirled around Olivia like an elaborate theatrical production. Crystal clinked against silver, string quartet notes floated through perfumed air, and everywhere eyes watched, assessing, calculating, measuring her worth in this world of old money and older grudges. You're doing wonderfully, Harrison murmured, as they glided across the ballroom floor, his hand firm at the small of her back. Even grandmother is impressed. Is that what that look means? I thought she was deciding which poison would leave the fewest traces. Harrison's unexpected laugh drew attention from nearby dancers. Eleanor Wells doesn't poison people. She simply arranges circumstances where they poison themselves. Comforting, Olivia replied, though she couldn't help smiling. When he wasn't being a corporate shark, Harrison possessed a dry wit that matched her own. The music ended, and Harrison was immediately cornered by board members eager to discuss the company's future. Left alone, Olivia wandered to the terrace, grateful for the momentary escape. He'll break your heart, you know. Olivia turned to find a woman about her age watching her with sad eyes. She wore a service uniform, not quite staff, not quite guest. You're Daniel Porter's sister, Olivia realized. Surprise flickered across the woman's face. Rebecca Porter, I'm surprised he mentioned me. Her gaze drifted to Harrison across the room. Did he tell you what he did to my brother? Some of it, Olivia admitted. I'm sorry for your loss. Are you? Rebecca studied her. Then why marry him? Before Olivia could formulate a response, Eleanor Wells materialized beside them like a specter in midnight blue silk. Rebecca, I believe the East Wing needs attention, she said, her tone pleasant but firm. Rebecca nodded stiffly and departed, leaving Olivia alone with the family matriarch. Curious company you keep, Mrs. Wells, Eleanor observed. I was just getting some air. Indeed. Eleanor's shrewd eyes missed nothing. Tell me, what does a mall photographer see in my grandson beyond the obvious financial advantages? Olivia thought of her mother, of the surgery scheduled for next week that would save her life, of the $50,000 already transferred to her account. His heart, she answered simply. Behind all the corporate armor, there's a man worth knowing. Something shifted in Eleanor's expression. Not quite approval, but reassessment. Interesting. Harrison claims the same about you. Perhaps there's more to this hasty union than Philip suspects. Later that night, as Olivia prepared for bed in the suite's luxurious bathroom, Harrison entered looking troubled. "There's been a development," he said without preamble. "The board is questioning the legitimacy of our marriage." "They can do that? The inheritance clause specifies a genuine union." Penelope has been sharing her suspicions. He paced the marble floor. "We need to adjust our arrangement." Olivia's stomach tightened. "How so?" "I propose we remain married for 1 year. Make it completely convincing." Harrison stopped pacing to face her. "In exchange, I'll increase your compensation to $5 million. The number hung in the air between them. $5 million. Enough to pay for her mother's care for life. Enough to restart her photography career. Enough to never worry about leaking ceilings again. "A year of my life for $5 million, she echoed. "It's just business," Harrison said, though something in his eyes suggested otherwise. "With clear parameters and an exit strategy." "If we're doing this, I have conditions," Olivia replied, surprising herself with her boldness. "First, complete honesty between us. No more surprises." Harrison nodded. "Reasonable." "Second, I want to know everything about Daniel Porter, and I want to help make things right with his sister." Harrison's expression darkened. "That's not simple." "Neither is pretending to love someone for a year," Olivia countered. "If I'm going to do this, I need to know the man behind the money, all of him, not just the parts you showcase for shareholders." The first threatening note arrived 3 months into their arrangement, delivered in a bouquet of black roses to Harrison's downtown office. The message was simple. "We know the truth. 1 million by Friday or everyone else will too." "Blackmail," Olivia said, examining the card in Harrison's penthouse that evening. They'd settled into a rhythm over the past months. She maintained her own apartment but spent most nights here for appearance's sake. Her mother had recovered from surgery and was doing well in the luxury rehabilitation center Harrison had insisted on financing to maintain our story. "The question is who?" Harrison replied, loosening his tie. He looked exhausted after a 14-hour board meeting. "Penelope is the obvious suspect, but this lacks her usual finesse." "Could it be Rebecca Porter?" "She has motive." Harrison shook his head. "Rebecca wants justice, not money. This feels different." Their relationship had evolved in unexpected ways. What began as cool professionalism had softened into something like friendship. Olivia had accompanied Harrison to charity galas and board dinners, learning to navigate his world while maintaining her integrity. Harrison had begun visiting her mother weekly, bringing books and spending hours in genuine conversation. Most surprising was how they'd begun collaborating professionally. Harrison had funded a gallery showing of Olivia's photography, portraits of people rebuilding their lives after corporate downsizing. The series had garnered critical acclaim and opened doors that had previously been shut to her. "We should pay the blackmailer," Olivia suggested. "Buy time to investigate." Harrison's jaw tightened. "I don't respond well to threats." "This isn't just about you anymore," she reminded him. "If our arrangement is exposed, my reputation will be destroyed alongside yours. No one will believe I wasn't just a gold digger." The realization softened his expression. "You're right. I'll have the money delivered." The payment bought them 2 weeks of peace before the second demand arrived, this time for $2 million. Simultaneously, small, damaging stories began appearing in business blogs. Anonymous sources questioning Harrison's leadership, hinting at improprieties in company acquisitions. "Someone's trying to destroy more than our marriage," Harrison observed, grimly. "They're after Wells Technologies, too." Investigation revealed the attacks were coming from multiple sources, too coordinated to be coincidental. When Olivia's mother reported strange men photographing her at the rehabilitation center, Something in Harrison changed. "This ends now," he said, a cold fury in his eyes Olivia had never witnessed. "I can handle threats to myself, but not to your family." That night, reviewing security footage from the company headquarters, they discovered their blackmailer, Philip. Wells, working in conjunction with Penelope Whitmore and the CFO of Whitmore Semiconductors. A hostile takeover, Harrison realized. They're trying to devalue Wells Technologies for acquisition while simultaneously discrediting our marriage to trigger the inheritance clause. "We need evidence," Olivia said. "Something concrete to take to the board." Breaking into Philip's office after hours wasn't part of their marriage agreement, but Olivia found herself picking the lock anyway, while Harrison disabled the security cameras. Inside, they discovered files detailing the conspiracy, and something far more damning. Philip was behind Daniel Porter's suicide, Olivia whispered, reading emails that showed Philip had manipulated both Harrison and Daniel, setting them against each other for his own benefit. "He made sure Daniel knew exactly when to walk in on you with Penelope. He orchestrated everything." Harrison sat heavily in Philip's chair, the color draining from his face. "I've spent 5 years believing I was responsible for a man's death." "You played a part," Olivia said gently. "But you were manipulated too." Their discovery came at a cost. As they left the building, a car swerved toward them on the empty street. Harrison pushed Olivia out of the way, taking the impact against his side. The car sped off as security responded to the commotion. In the hospital waiting room, Olivia realized a fundamental truth she'd been avoiding. Somewhere between contract negotiations and blackmail threats, she'd fallen in love with Harrison Wells. Not the billionaire, but the man who brought books to her mother and who looked at her photography with genuine appreciation. The man now in surgery because he'd chosen to protect her without hesitation. When Rebecca Porter appeared beside her, Olivia expected recrimination. Instead, the woman handed her a flash drive. "I've been gathering evidence against Philip for years," Rebecca said quietly. "I thought Harrison was the villain of my brother's story. I was wrong. Why help us now?" Rebecca's smile was sad, because genuine love deserves a fighting chance, even for a Wells. Olivia clutched the flash drive, wondering when their carefully constructed facade had become something real enough for even strangers to recognize, and whether Harrison would ever acknowledge what they both now knew was true. Part 5. Fortune's True Value. The Wells Technologies boardroom fell silent as the video evidence finished playing. Philip's face had gone ashen, while Penelope maintained a brittle smile that didn't reach her eyes. Eleanor Wells, seated at the head of the table, removed her glasses with deliberate slowness. "I believe we've seen enough," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "Philip, your resignation is expected on my desk within the hour. The authorities have already been notified regarding the attempted vehicular assault." "You can't possibly believe this fabricated nonsense," Philip sputtered. "Harrison has manipulated you all with his gold-digging wife and—" "My wife," Harrison interrupted, his hand finding Olivia's beneath the table, "has shown more integrity in 6 months than you have demonstrated in a lifetime." The cast on his arm from the car incident was a stark reminder of how close they'd come to losing everything. As security escorted Philip and Penelope from the room, Eleanor turned to Harrison and Olivia. "The anniversary of your hasty marriage approaches. I assume the inheritance clause is no longer your primary concern?" Harrison's gaze met Olivia's. "The clause was never about money. It was about proving I could commit to something beyond quarterly profits." "And have you?" Eleanor pressed. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, autumn painted Central Park in fiery hues. So much had changed since that desperate day in Olivia's apartment. Her photography career had flourished. Her series On Corporate Victims had expanded to include healing and redemption, with Daniel Porter's sister as its centerpiece. Her mother had fully recovered and was traveling through Europe, sending daily postcards from places she'd only dreamed of visiting, and Harrison had transformed from corporate raider to responsible innovator. He'd established a fund for entrepreneurs affected by predatory business practices. He'd reconnected with parts of himself long sacrificed to family expectations and corporate ambition. Their marriage of convenience had 1 month remaining before the contracted year ended. The divorce papers sat in a drawer in Harrison's penthouse, unsigned. "I think," Olivia said carefully, "that we both committed to more than we anticipated." Later that evening, they stood on the penthouse balcony watching the city lights emerge. The prenuptial agreement Harrison had drafted was open on the table inside, alongside a certified check for $5 million, the payment promised for completing their arrangement. "1 year," Harrison said quietly. "As agreed." Olivia looked at the check representing freedom, security, and the fulfillment of their business arrangement. Then she looked at the man beside her. No longer a stranger, no longer merely a business partner. "What if I don't want it to end?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Harrison turned to her, surprise and something like hope in his eyes. "The contract was clear. You're free to go, Olivia, with everything we agreed upon." "The contract addressed a business arrangement," she countered. "It said nothing about what happens if—" She hesitated. "If what?" Harrison pressed, moving closer. "If the arrangement becomes real, if pretending becomes—" She met his gaze directly. "If I fall in love with you?" The city sounds faded away as Harrison cupped her face with gentle hands. "I've been trying to find the courage to tear up those divorce papers for months," he admitted. "Terrified you were still counting the days until freedom." "I stopped counting a long time ago," Olivia said. "Somewhere between blackmail notes and board meetings, you stopped being a transaction and became essential." Harrison's smile was unlike any she'd seen before, unguarded, genuine, tender. "In that case, Mrs. Wells, may I propose a new arrangement? No contracts, no end dates, just us building something real together." "I believe those terms are acceptable," Olivia replied, reaching up to close the final distance between them. As they sealed their new agreement with a kiss that held nothing of pretense and everything of promise, the check on the table caught a breeze from the open balcony door and fluttered to the floor. Forgotten. Some fortunes, they had both learned, couldn't be measured in dollars and cents. The true wealth had been finding each other amid the wreckage of their carefully constructed facades, and discovering that sometimes the most valuable things in life begin with the courage to drop all pretense and simply be real.